Becky was born July 9th, 1952, and I had another 7 weeks or so before I turned 4. So that means for almost 4 years I was an only child. And I don't remember having any rancor or any bad attitude about having a little sister. I, I believe I probably enjoyed it, but I know there was some mischief there. I remember her crib was set up in my bedroom, and back then, and maybe they still do, mothers would put their newborns down to nap and stick a bottle in their mouth. And sometimes the bottle was milk, sometimes it was something like orange juice. And these were little, small bottles, 4-ounce bottles, not as big as a serving of milk that you would give the kid. And I remember taking Becky's bottle because I don't know if she was asleep or not, but I took her bottle and I thought I'd try some orange juice. But I also took some string and tied across the top bars of her crib. Certainly not to tie her, maybe to protect her from something getting in from outside the crib, or maybe in fear of she might try to crawl out of the crib and this will keep her in. Who knows? I just remember doing it. And the last thing I remember, or the last thing I will tell you about the house on Midway Road is it's where I first saw Superman, the TV show. This was the era of late afternoon, before dinner kids shows, and especially Saturday morning kids shows. And Superman was probably tops. And I get the feeling he was on every day, like for maybe 15 minutes or half an hour. It was usually presented by some local TV host that was the whole purpose was to entertain the kids while mom made supper and dad was on his way home from work. I'm guessing a lot of that. But Superman reigned there, and of course Saturdays you had Sky King and you had the Lone Ranger and you had so many I can't even remember anymore. Some of them were, Roy Rogers, of course. Some of them confused me because they had horses, but they also had motorized vehicles like jeeps and airplanes. So I clearly felt the incongruity, I guess, of cowboys on horses at the same time as someone's driving a jeep or flying a plane. I probably held that confusion for a long time. So after Newcastle, we moved down. Dad, being a salesman and a rising salesman, went where the company told him to, which meant we moved pretty often. We were only in Indiana for no more than 2 years. Well, it's probably more like a year and a half. Before that, Akron was about 2.5, 3 years. We moved to a wide spot in the road on Route 8 north of Pittsburgh called Cooperstown. Moved into a house that was just built. We were the first occupants. And it was on the edge of a pretty good-sized forest. And since there were still building materials laying around, I got to keep those and make forts. And I got to wander off a little bit into the woods, but not too far because it was uncharted territory. We had a fireplace, first fireplace in my life, and my dad was left the house on Monday and came back on Friday, so it was just me and Becky. And it seems like my grandparents helped out quite a bit and took care of Becky in Akron for a while. I'm having trouble remembering how that would have worked out. And it wasn't like Akron was a short drive from Pennsylvania. It was not. So, but I remember some cool things. I remember Uncle Lewis and Aunt Lois visiting with my cousins Steve and Dave and Ellen. That was on New Year's Eve, and we have a photo to prove it. I remember my dad had an old rifle that had belonged to his father. He told me later in life that it was a 44-40. I'm imagining, just like the poem I wrote, that it was a Winchester, but who knows, it could have been anything. I'm also imagining that it was a rifle that my great-grandfather had carried in the Civil War when Perry Coe was his name, and he was a home guard. All I know is it had belonged to him. He used it shooting game a lot when he set up housekeeping up in the mountains in West Virginia. And I remember showing it off. My dad kept it in the closet, and I took Dave and Steve with me, and I got in the closet and got the rifle out and held it, and I even pressed a little lever to show where the bullets went into the chamber. I didn't have any bullets, but I was showing it off, and we were all pretty impressed. Well, I guess it got stolen in one of the many moves that the commercial movers provided my dad. And it might have been that very one, because the next move was Akron. No, the next move was Erie. And my dad lost his rifle. So, Erie is where I met Eric Cohen. He was the son of our family doctor. We lived in an apartment complex. The Cohens, us, these are two-story brick apartment complexes that are still in Erie. We went to the public school down the street, Jefferson School, walked there, except when I got slick and stole some change from my mom's purse and took the bus. And Eric and I had a good time playing together. We walked at the edge of the apartment complex where there was just fields and weeds, and we ate wild strawberries. And then there was a little gully behind Eric's building that we took clumps of dirt and threw against the brick wall and yelled, "Dirty Mark," and laughed. And so I'd pick one up and throw it against the wall, and a lot of the mud would stick. "Dirty Mark." We'd laugh. This broke us up. And then Eric, he threw a clod of dirt. He goes, "Dirty Mark whistle." And I think he knew what he was talking about, but I think he was talking about when the cowboys on TV shot their guns and you would hear a whing after the gunshot. I don't know. And we did one bad thing. These apartment buildings in the basement were laundry rooms. And we went into the laundry room, and while a washing machine was still in operation, we decided it needed a little bit more detergent. And we poured detergent in there, and then we didn't stick around because we knew no good could come from that.